Mitsubishi's best-selling model has just been refreshed for 2026. So what we're gonna do is review it today, tell you what it's like to drive, all the improvements. In theory, we'll cover those, but also stay to the end because we're gonna put this on the spreadsheet and give it a score. How does this hold up against things like the Nissan Rogue, which shares the same platform? How does it hold up to things like the new RAV4 fully hybrid? Well, let's start this off by getting under the hood. Well done, Mitsubishi. My daughter thought this was a Range Rover because of the lettering on the hood. This is a heavy steel hood here. This is all new. This is a new 1.5 liter 4-cylinder mild hybrid mated to a CVT. CVT isn't new. It's kind of carried over from the previous, but it's replacing a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter, and we're down a whole liter in displacement, but it's got a turbo. So we've gained torque. We now have 206 pound-feet of torque, so it's up about 20 pound-feet of torque. But it's down about 5 horsepower, so 6 horsepower. It's got 174 horsepower versus 181 horsepower. It is way behind in terms of the 3-cylinder Nissan Rogue. It's way behind the RAV4's powertrain in terms of efficiency. I'm only getting 28 miles per gallon here, all right? And this model, fully loaded, is about 47,000. All right, so we'll talk about how good or not so good of a value that is here at the end. All right, so let's lower the hood, talk about the exterior design of the Outlander. Big Mitsubishi logo. They still have these really bright chromy boomerangs on the outside of it. I still think it holds up, the design holds up well since they redesigned this just a few years ago. But with this refresh, I think we have some new wheels here. 255, so they're fairly wide, 255 by 45 by 20 inch. So they're sitting on dubs, sitting on 20s. We got the two-tone roof here. I still think the Outlander looks amazing from the side profile. Do you guys agree with that as we come to the rear? One missed opportunity here. We don't have an all-wheel drive badge. We have an all-wheel drive sticker. Doesn't make this vehicle feel that premium, but you might be saying, Kirk, I think the new CR-V has an all-wheel drive sticker. This is true. All right, I'm not saying that's okay though. I think it's a very handsome vehicle from the back. It would have been nice to have the windshield wiper tucked up into the spoiler, but that's more of a premium thing. The taillights look great, no visible exhaust tips. We get into the back here. Let's talk about this third row. I'm not gonna get back here. The second row is pushed all the way back. My kids, they don't like being back here, and I have small kids. There are no vents back here. The windows are small. There are no USBs. There are cup holders, but the leg room is a big issue. So I just been putting my 3 daughters across here and my 4th daughter in the front seat. So because this third row is so unusable. But it is a good emergency third row if you need to pick up somebody else's kids, sort of thing. But I would not be spending this money for a 3 row. All right, this is an emergency third row, and there's nothing more to that. But let's go ahead and fold this down so you can see the cargo. Okay, I think the cargo here, even when the third row is assembled, it's pretty decent. There's our Yamaha subwoofer and our 12-speaker Yamaha system. All right, there's your seat hidden, which I think is pretty cool. So the cargo space when the third row is put away is fantastic. I got to reassemble the tonneau cover, and there we have it. I like this gray fabric here on it, and then we can tuck these seat belts right into these holsters so the seat belts aren't flying around while you're driving. And I can still fold down the second row seats from back here, which is quite nice. Auto lift gate. On this top of the line model, the premium package, we have sunshades. We have this beautifully quilted door panel. Here's our Yamaha speakers. They're gorgeous. It also sounds great. Here's a little scuff plate there as we come across. Heated outboard seats. Yes, the kids turned them on this morning. It was 57 degrees on the way to school. Great leg room as long as you don't need to move this all the way forward to have foot room for the third row, right? So there's just hardly any space back there for that third row. And again, it's an emergency third row. If you need to have 3 rows of seats, I can think of any other 3 row that would probably be better suited if you're usually using 3 rows of seats. I like the mat pockets here, kind of a triple mat pocket. These leather seats are fantastic. I got vents in the back, big panel roof on this model. The smart key access is only on the front doors, not on the back doors. And let's go ahead and talk about these quilted door panels here. Gorgeous. Again, huge Yamaha speaker grill there. It's a stunning sound system overall. And that's I think one of the more unique things about the Outlander. Look at these seats. Gorgeous. I don't have that massaging seat function that I remember in years past. Maybe that's only on the plug-in hybrid. Yes, there's a plug-in hybrid. Let's talk about it real quick. The plug-in hybrid has been upgraded. It has a bigger battery pack. It's got more range than it used to. I'll have to review it separately because I think that's actually a decent buy. Not saying that this one isn't, wait till the end, but that one is more compelling because it's more unique for its segment. And that has been upgraded to almost 300 horsepower, which it desperately needed. All right, so let's talk about this interior. Love the steering wheel. It's perfect. The thickness of it is great. This, you know, it is a little reflective, but it hasn't blinded me this week. It's typically this sort of glossiness on the dash and down here that kind of blinds me. But yeah, real buttons, roll scroll wheels. The safety system in here has been great. It's and if you need to, this is a pro tip. If you need to change the settings in the car and you can't figure it out, more than likely it's not through the main screen. Okay, there's very little settings here on the main screen, and it's almost worthless, okay, going through these system settings. You have to go through the settings here. Again, you just press over to slide through to get to the cog, and then you have all the settings that you need to play with. Head-up display. I had to turn off the setting where the seat, when you turn the car off, slides back because it was going to smash my kids, because my second row was pushed forward when I was using the third row. Okay, and that's why I don't use the third row at all. It's just way too compromised. And so the seat would slide back and I had the second row slid forward, and it would, you know, it's just not a good situation for the passenger behind me if when I turn the car off, the seat slides back. To make it easier and for the driver to get out. So I just turned that feature off so I don't have to worry about smashing my kids' feet or something like that. But 12-inch screen here. I think this one's 12 as well. I love that we have a volume knob. The climate control is perfect, home run, real buttons for heated and ventilated seats, real knobs, real buttons. What else could I ask for? Perfect. It's going to score perfect there. The car is going to score perfect with the volume control as well. I have it on the steering wheel. I have it here with a volume knob. The materials on the dash are fantastic except for this glossy bit here. But we also have this digital rearview mirror on this high-end premium package, SEL model. Felt-lined sunglasses holder, couple cup holders, wireless charger, 2 USBs. They are illuminated at night. I mean, the comfort in this car has been incredible. All right, but what does it drive like? These seats, this sound system, it can be great, but if it doesn't drive right, then it's not worth it. So let's start driving the Mitsubishi Outlander. The great thing about this trim level, you don't need to get the fancy premium package, which is a $3,000 option, to get the 360 camera. So that's nice, I guess. I appreciate the 360 camera in here. Every time you start the car back up, it turns into the mild hybrid, which again is new for this year. What the mild hybrid does is that once the engine's warmed up anyways, it'll kill the engine below 5 miles an hour. So as you're coasting to a stop, the engine, and assuming you're not cranking climate control too hard, but it still does it even if, you know, in certain circumstances it'll kill the engine. So as you're coasting to a stop, the engine turns off under 5 miles an hour. And it's a bit frustrating because your predictive braking isn't as good as it should be. And I don't like the lag that it creates when you want to start back up. By the way, the auto brake hold in here is amazing. And we'll do 0 to 60 right now. I guess there's a dynamic mode. Let's do 0 to 60 real quick. Oh, there goes my microphone. This thing needs a lot more power as that Chevy just pulled out right in front of us. Yep, there's 60. Yep, 0 to 60, and this is with no kids in it. Yes, I have some groceries back there because I did my walk around in the Sam's Club parking lot. But 0 to 60 in 9 1/4, so 9.25, and 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 9.9. Also, if you need to get on the power, and the engine's not fully warmed up, as I found out this morning, it feels like it has 100 horsepower instead of the 170 horsepower. So it's a bit frustrating in that regard. This vehicle's just severely underpowered, and yes, it has more torque, and I appreciate that torque, but it's just nowhere near class competitive. And that's why if I was looking at the Outlander, I'd only be looking at the plug-in hybrid. Okay, but let's get out of tarmac mode or whatever, get in normal because it's keeping the revs really high. Let's talk about, well, I gotta turn here. Okay, I have groceries in the car, so I'm not gonna push this thing to the max in this video, but I'll tell you what the dynamics are like. The steering feel in here is elite. I love it. It feels so good. The handling, maybe it's not as good as something like the new CX-5, but it's close. All right. So I'm going to give it like a high score in the handling department. So it handles well. The steering is nice. What about ride quality? Ride quality is top of the class, in my opinion. I think it rides amazing. Even with these 20-inch wheels, it rides very nice. It's very quiet. The engine, when it's idling, assuming you're not running AC too hard, because if you do run AC too hard, you do feel the engine, the vibrations a little bit at idle when you're at a stop. But again, that's only if you're turning off the mild hybrid system, which you do that by just pressing the auto off button down here, which I do every single time I drive this car, because I don't like my engine turning off before you even come to a stop, and I don't like waiting around for the engine to turn back on when I come off of the stop or start accelerating. So I just turn it off. In my testing, fuel economy is maybe 1 mile per gallon different. That's it. 1 mile per gallon different for this mild hybrid system that's really intrusive and annoying, and it takes away from the experience. So that's why I always turn off the mild hybrid. I got off track there talking about the NVH. It's super quiet in here. It's quieter than probably a RAV4, the new RAV4 hybrid. It's quieter maybe than the Rogue. It's really quiet. I have acoustic glass in here. And the ride, like I said, the road noise is very minimal. So it's top of the class in a lot of ways, just not in the powertrain. And that, unfortunately, for this vehicle is its downfall. It's just really underpowered for our American needs. And now I'm coming onto the brakes here. The brakes in this vehicle, they're strong, they're good. They're fairly linear, which is all good. But the brake pedal itself is extraordinarily light, I should say. It feels like you're barely pushing on anything on the brake pedal. Now again, the braking is good. The predictability of the brake system is good. It's just really light brake pedal, and I'm not a big fan. Speaking of braking, there's a type of engine braking this car does, regardless of whether you have the engine auto start button on or off. If you're doing about 45 or even faster, sometimes even slower, okay, but let's say you're holding steady at about 45, you get off the gas, you would expect the car to cruise, but that's not what happens. The car actually has engine braking, and so the car slows down noticeably, almost like you're in a Toyota hybrid, or maybe it may even be more aggressive than a Toyota hybrid with its base regen. Now, it doesn't have that engine braking at low speeds. It's only if you're like cruising at a specific speed, like 45 or higher, okay, then it has a really noticeable engine braking to it. And it might cause some nausea with your passengers in the vehicle, because the engine braking in this is strong. Barely feel the idle in here. It's fantastic. And the engine's on right now. It hasn't turned off. If I turn this off because I have the climate control on, the engine just died. Okay. Which is good, like I said, it'll maybe save you 1 mile per gallon difference. But this has a way better idle and a smoother idle than something like the Nissan Rogue. And I compared this vehicle to that because they share the same platform. They have the same CVT. Oh shoot, I just turned off my head-up display, which yes, I have a head-up display, but I meant to turn off the mild hybrid turn off. Can't hear the engine unless, you're into the throttle. But at idle here, it's brilliant. We do have an extendable visor there, which is, I really appreciate that. And let's go talk about the responsiveness. It's good. There's just nothing there. There's hardly anything there. Okay, the responsiveness is good. It's just you just don't get a lot of the engine that you want. You don't get that satisfactory acceleration. And forget about it. If you have a full family in here, you have 5 people in this car or more, right? It's a 7-seater. It's just going to be incredibly lackluster from the engine perspective. I don't mind the CVT that much in here. Why? Because it's responsive. The CVT does kind of mimic a first gear when you start off from a stop, and then you have to reapply throttle. It's a bit frustrating. Subarus are like this as well. So it's not unique to this vehicle. I feel like it's more of a CVT issue, meaning you have to apply additional throttle to keep the car accelerating at the rate you initially input from a stop, okay? So there's a little bit of a nanny situation with the throttle, but it's not like a deal breaker by any means, all right? So let's head into the office. Let's talk about the final grade on this. Can I recommend it over its competition? Or should you, if you're looking at an Outlander, should you just get the plug-in hybrid? Yep, there's that. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I started off and then it kills the RPMs on your engine. And so you have to reapply throttle for the CVT to act properly. It's a bit frustrating. So yeah, there is a bit of a nannying situation. And of course, it's probably going to be even worse the more weight you put in this vehicle with passengers. So again, back to the office. Let's go ahead and cross shop the Mitsubishi Outlander here. Let's just make sure we're looking at the 26 models as low as 24K. If you can pick up an Outlander, a brand new 26 model for 24, I know it's a base trim, ES, for 24K, it's a really good car for that much money, in my opinion, right? With its flexibility, its great ride quality, it handles well, etc. Okay, I think it's a good buy there, but let's take a look at trim levels. The vast majority of them are the SE trim, not the SEL. The SEL is the top of the line. Okay, so the SE, I'm curious. Okay, what kind of deals can you get? Okay, 27K, good buy. I would say don't spend over $30,000 on an Outlander. All right, because once you get over $30,000, there's so many other cars I would rather have for about the same money. All right, so if we go back to SEL here, I wouldn't touch the SEL trim. To me, it's the SE, the sporty model, or the ES. I know it's confusing. The base ES or the SE. I would not be spending this much money. I know it's nice on the inside. Don't get me wrong. There's something really nice things about it, but when you're spending over $30,000, there's so many other models out there that have a better powertrain. The Rogue doesn't have a great powertrain, but it's better. It's better than the car I tested today. Okay, the 3-cylinder has the same displacement, but it has a lot more power and torque. Okay, so 25K, yeah, the thing is there's more flexibility in the Outlander. I think the Rogue looks just as good overall, maybe slightly better. Okay, but yeah, the Rogue S, even the Rogue S is a really good buy. All right. And would I pick it over the Outlander? It depends. My case, every once in a while, I need the third row. So I would probably pick the Outlander. Okay. What about the Sportage Hybrid? For 27K, I would absolutely pick a Sportage Hybrid. The materials aren't quite as nice maybe on the inside, but overall, it's a really, really good car and the most affordable hybrid you can get in its class. All right. Because the Tucson hybrid costs more. The RAV4 hybrid costs about $5,000 more than this. Not MSRP, but what you'd be paying right now in the current market. What about the Honda CR-V? CR-V hybrid. Well, let's see if there's discounts to be had. There's a ton of inventory in the CR-V hybrid. And CR-V hybrid, it's okay deal. It's a good buy. It's not a great buy. I say the Sportage is a great buy if you can get it well under MSRP. Rogue's a great buy at 25K. And the base trim of the Outlander and the SE trims are also great buys. So let's rank it. All right, exterior design. I think from the side and from the back, it looks cool. All right, I don't like the boomerang chrome front end things. Otherwise, they could fix that. Like if you look at the Nissan plug-in hybrid Rogue, which is an Outlander plug-in hybrid, just rebadged, Nissan made that vehicle look better than the Mitsubishi one. Go figure. Interior design, I think for its class, it's a 5. Versatility is a 5 because it has a third row. It has an optional third row in a 2-row segment. Don't confuse this with things like the Grand Highlander or the Pilot. No, it's not. It's in the same footprint of a mid or compact. All right, it just has a third row. The Tiguan used to have a third row. Climate controls, it's a 5. Volume controls, it's a 5. Comfort's a 5. Software, once I figured it out, all the settings were behind the screen, behind the steering wheel on that screen and not on the center screen. I figured it out. So software is fine. In fact, I liked it quite a bit because it is minimal, and minimal software for me is the best. I don't want to have to fly through menus. Okay, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay was wireless. Engine, yikes. The baseline here to compare it to would be the Rogue. All right, I'm not saying the gold standard. The gold standard is going to be the RAV4 standard hybrid. Okay, the engine here, yikes. It's like a 5 is being generous. Transmission, maybe a 5. All right. It's fairly responsive, but off the line, it's sluggish. And don't even get me started on the mild hybrid end of things, because it's terrible. It ruins the experience of the car, kills the engine as you're creeping to a stop, and it takes away from the experience. 0 to 60s, I'll give it a 2 here. That's being generous. 2 out of 5. Efficiency, it's not good. 28 miles per gallon in town is what I was seeing. It would be better on the highway, but let's give efficiency here like probably a 2. NVH, I was really impressed overall. The engine can be a bit loud, but for its class, I'd probably give it a 5. Ride quality is a 5. Brake feel, the brakes are good. They're linear, but the brake doesn't have any resistance to it. So I'm going to give it like a 2 here. Steering feel, I thought it was amazing. Handling, it's really good, especially as you power out of a turn, because all-wheel drive, super all-wheel drive control is good. So I'll give it a 4 here. I think the Mazda is better in terms of handling. Market value, well, don't pay anywhere close to MSRP. As we go back to it, okay, if we're looking at the SEL model, we're seeing 12 grand off of MSRP. So I think and like I said, as cheap as 24K. So I think the market value here is really good. It's just that you don't have the powertrains I want. Okay, it's a side grade and powertrain from the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter. It gives you more torque, but you get stripped away on power a little bit. It doesn't have the efficiency for the class, and it doesn't have the hybrid electrification for the class, and doesn't have the power for the class. The engine and the transmission really hold this vehicle back. I do find it fairly charming, so I'll give it a point for that. I'll give it a point for having a 3-row. It handles well. Okay, maybe I'll give it a 3, and that's being generous. I didn't look to see if it had a spare tire. Hold on. The vehicle is right behind me. No spare tire. And I forgot to mention the Yamaha sound system. I believe that's locked away into like the top end SEL Premium. So most people aren't going to ever see the Yamaha sound system in there with the 12 speakers. However, now that I'm looking, Yamaha does equip these with Yamaha speakers on, I think, the mid-grade, maybe the base grade too, but it's not going to be the top-end sound system, I would expect, okay? Because this speaker grille seemingly isn't quite as nice as the speaker grills that I have in this trim right here, okay? Spare tire, nope, no spare tire. So anyways, what's the total here? It's a 75 out of 100. It's a solid buy, as long as you can live with its lack of power. It's an anemic powertrain. I really like most things about it, to be honest. It's nowhere close to top of the class, what is top of class? Well, it's RAV4. RAV4 is top of class, followed then closely by the CR-V, as you can see here. And if I look back on 2025, for example, I didn't give them a numerical score back then, but the RAV4 Woodland did get into S grade. So I have very strong confidence that the RAV4 is still best in class. Obviously, it just came out. I need to test it more. And what about the plug-in hybrid? Well, don't buy it. At least wait for the 26 model. Wait for reviews to come in on it. I really want to drive it to see how good of a buy it is. I mean, you can buy currently the base leftover models of the 25 Outlander. $30,000, I think, is a fair price. Okay, I wouldn't spend more than probably $35K on a plug-in hybrid Outlander. All right, because, well, there's a lot of other cars for $35K I'd rather have. I'm going to end it there. Let me know if you guys agree with my final scoring of the Mitsubishi Outlander. Look, it beat out the Subaru Forester Wilderness that I test drove earlier this year. Okay, narrowly. The Rogue scored slightly better, and I do prefer driving the Rogue over it, I think, most of the time, just because the powertrain has 30 more horsepower and a lot more torque. And do we have any Yeah, the CR-V so far is the best one I've driven this year in its class. And then stay tuned, because who knows? We could get a new Tucson revealed by the end of this year. I need to drive the new RAV4 some more. All right. And thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you. Stay tuned for more car reviews here on the channel, and check out my short form content on TikTok. It's Kirk Car News, one word, Kirk Car News on YouTube as well. It's a separate YouTube channel. And then also follow me, Kirk Kreifels, on Instagram for more updates through that channel too. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Peace. All right, girls, it's time to say Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
All right. Eve, go first.
Mitsubishi.
No, Reggie.
Mitsubishi.
Pretty close. Maggie.
Mitsubishi.
Close. Gigi.
Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
I say
Listen closely. Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
Yay!